T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kush's Corner here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Tonight is the return of Mr. Patrick Holmes. We got some Tinley Park recap to go over, some breeding season stuff, just kind of generally catching up. Should be a very fun episode. Before we get into that, of course, as always, USARK. So USARK is the organization that is fighting for our rights to keep our reptiles, to run our reptile businesses, and to live this lifestyle. Check out usark.org for everything you need to know about the organization. That website is also where you can find alerts as to new pieces of legislation introduced at either local levels or the national level, as well as keeping up with any sort of progress on those pieces of legislation. usark.org is also where you can become a member of the organization. As a community, we have strength in numbers, and the more people that are behind the cause, the better. And here we are. Thank you to everybody who was tuned in. If you were here live with us, thank you very much. If you are here after the fact, sometime in the future, welcome. If you are here on YouTube and you are not already, please subscribe here to the Trap Talk Reptile Network. New podcasts drop every single day of the week here on the channel from some of the best hosts in the game, talking about a wide variety of topics from within the reptile industry. So if you are a reptile podcast fan, you have come to the right place. But we are also on all of the audio streaming platforms as well, be that Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find the Trap Talk Reptile Network. A follow and a 5-star review on any of those platforms would be most appreciated. And for me, if you want to get with behind the scenes content, get early access to animals that become made available, go to patreon.com/CushReptile. It is the #1 place to go to support what I have going on, this podcast, and to get some really cool insider information. So check that out. It would be absolutely most appreciated. With all that out of the way, let's bring Patrick onto the show. What's going on, dude? Long time no see.
I know. It's been a really long time.
Yep. About 72 hours or so, maybe a little
yeah.
hours.
Yeah. So I couldn't even, I tried to math that really quick, and my brain is so fried right now that I just, it could have been 6 weeks ago or 6 minutes ago, and I wouldn't know the difference. So,
yeah, I feel the same way. Got back in at about midnight, and then ended up falling asleep on my couch for the entirety of the night. And then I've been the first thing I had to do was all of my my rodents and my quail, and then get into reptiles. So because they come first, they get the absolute dirtiest the quickest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially water on the birds, and even more important than on the rodents. That's I grew up in the pet stores, and the first thing you do when you're in a large pet store, the first thing that you do as soon as you walk in the door is put eyes on every single enclosure and make sure you don't have to pull something dead out. That's the first thing you do. And the second thing you do is water on the birds.
Yeah. Well, I got to give a shout out. My dad's here in the chat right now. He was keeping up on rodent water while I was having fun at Tinley. So shout out to my dad.
Yeah. Well, your return home was sounds a lot nicer than mine was. I apologize for my voice tonight. My throat is just trashed from allergies. So some shit I'm not used to from Chicago, because my throat started getting fucked up on Sunday, and I'm just now recovering from it. But something that came in with that storm. But there was a lot of delayed flights and a lot of canceled flights, and a lot of people got stuck. I didn't get stuck, but my flight got delayed several times. Got pushed back by 4.5 hours. And so Sunday I was on my feet for probably about 15 hours or so. And I think I walked somewhere between 6 and 7 miles at the airport, just walking laps, watching my flight get pushed back over and over. And I got back into Dallas at 3 something in the morning. And a little after 4, I finally got to my vehicle, and pulling out of the parking lot onto Mockingbird Lane, I blew my CV joint and my differential transfer case, which is a $3,500 part on my Jeep, and in the middle of oncoming traffic that would have been real fucked up if it wasn't 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was able to get it to roll up into a gas station, so I had enough momentum, and had to wait on a tow truck and rode with the tow truck driver all the way to. I mean, it was a $300 tow. They quoted me $450. I got him to do it for $300, and to the mechanic shop, and then so I made it home. I got in bed at like 6:30 in the morning, and I'm usually tired by like 8 p.m. at the latest, and I usually get up at 5. And fortunately, I had somebody open the shop for me, so I got about 2 hours of sleep, and then had a long, crazy day at work. Had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 pallets of stuff come in the back, and customers all day, and same thing today too. So yeah.
Well, thanks for being here. We won't keep you forever, but my God, I got nothing on that.
Yeah, it's that's just been like I'm a hippie, so I'm blaming the fact that Mercury is in retrograde for all of my problems for the last few weeks. But it's been a rough few weeks, man. It's been pretty much every day some kind of just fucked up random thing going down. So I'm normally real good at accepting responsibility for my problems, and almost none of this has been things I can accept responsibility for, which somehow makes it more lame. I guess I'm accustomed to making my own mistakes and all of that. So when it's stuff that's just totally out of my control, it's even more frustrating.
Well,
is that the sound of bull snakes over there?
Yeah, that is the sound of bull snakes. That is, couldn't tell if it was bull snakes or pine snakes for a second, but it is surely bull snakes. So
they're rough, man. The pits are they play hard.
Particularly these Kankakees I have found. I've heard the most ruckus coming from their enclosures over any of the other pits. But yeah, they can. Yeah. For anybody who picked up the new book this weekend, Craig Trumbauer's new
I got
book,
it.
So did I. There's plenty of really awesome pictures in that book of, pitch you of his breeding behavior, and they will just fully clamp down the males on the females' heads.
Yeah.
And just hold them there.
Yep.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that yet. But
I have.
I probably just missed it. So
the father of your hypos over there, he does it pretty much every time, usually by the face. And I can't remember which female it was. I think the classic female, but he had like half of her head, like literally like half of her face in his mouth, like had her right across the side of her face. And they're savages with their courtship and the breeding.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have some pictures in that book, but I did not submit them early enough because I'm a procrastinator.
I think I may be in the same boat as you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he specifically wanted some Stillwater hypo pictures.
Yeah. Well, for volume 2, we got to make sure to get the pictures in on time.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. I'm excited to check the book out. It's I didn't bring it on the plane. I sent it back with the snakes that came back. So I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it. It would have been. I'm wishing I had stuffed it in my backpack. It would have been a fun thing to do while I was sitting at the airport.
Yeah.
So.
What were the Tinley pickups, or did you just pick something up that you prearranged?
No, I actually didn't buy anything. I just sent back 2 bull snakes that I didn't sell.
Okay.
And I sent quite a few snakes up, and most of it was already paid for, and a couple of things that were not. I brought some extra bulls and brettles. Well, I only had 1 brettles left, and Amazon Trevo, and just a few extra odds and ends that I had, and then a couple of chondros that were paid for.
Okay. And
I was gonna snag that pine snake, that Mexican pine, but I just by that time of day, by the end of the day on Sunday, I was just so exhausted and not feeling great, and I just was ready to get out of there, which of course, didn't happen for another 12 hours or whatever it was. But there was a lot of things I wanted to get. I just decided to behave myself.
Yeah, there was some cool stuff at the show, I gotta say. Definitely snake heavy overall, but some good variety within the snakes. It's kind of funny. The video that I did at Pomona, I got some criticism in my comments that there just weren't that many snakes at the show. And I'm like, I think I just kind of filmed a lot of snakes because I'm a snake guy, but maybe kind of think a little bit. And, I guess it makes sense because regionally speaking, there's a lot more snake people in the Midwest than there are lizard people. But yeah, definitely a lot of snakes, but a lot of, some pretty decent variety of snakes at the show, I'd say.
Yeah. That's always the thing that stands out to me. I've never been to Pomona, but that always stands out to me at Tinley, that there's always like really, really good variety of snakes, especially on the colubrid end. But even without Scott there with his bolins, there was still, there's always a good variety of boids as well. It's not just the colubrids. There are all kinds of stuff. But the colubrids are what always gets me. There's just a great selection. I mean, just Josh's table. Like, even if nobody else was there, even if there was no other colubrids at the entire show,
seriously,
Josh and Danielle Alder with the Exotic Empire there. In addition to them both being just incredibly badass people, I love both of them. They're 2 of my favorite people to see at that show.
Same.
But their table's always ridiculous, and I know you've been going to shows for quite some time, and you've been to a lot of them. We could, if you can remove the derogatory connotation, we can call Josh a flipper, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever seen a flipper table that's so immaculate? Well,
yeah, what I was going to say to piggyback off of that is just thinking back in hindsight, and I think the only exception I would make to this would be the old Chondro Coalition tables at Tinley. That may have been the best table I've ever seen at a reptile show.
Yeah, not like
when those
flipper or otherwise.
Yeah, before the blackheads left the table, especially. There's an adult pair of Axanthic blackhead pythons at the table.
Yes,
but so I mean, it was, especially with like back in the day with like Rico there, Marshall, all those guys.
Yeah,
those tables were fucking incredible. I saw a few of them when I was young. But yeah, their table at this show, I would say, maybe the best table I've ever seen at a reptile show. Period. To me, the variety, and like to me, it was a lot of shit that I really liked.
Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, and mostly colubrids, but also some badass frogs and like adult king rats and stuff like that on the table. And Josh won't put anything on the table that's not immaculate. And if he does, there was one snake. It was Hypo Mollendorffi that he had seriously discounted because of a little tiny kink. Yeah. And that was the only imperfect snake on the table. And man, yeah, what a spread. And I mean, at the last Tinley, they had a fucking shingleback on the table.
I remember seeing pictures of that. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I took some pictures with it. The first thing they did, I like walked back there to say hi, and Josh is like, he's like, here, and just hands me a fucking shingleback skink. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, those animals, they're amazing. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd ever keep them, but I've held one shingleback skink, and just like, there's no animal that's like that. I mean, they're like a non-venomous beady lizard a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to make the same. They're built, and the size and the build is kind of like the Gilas. I have Gilas, but yeah, because I'm thinking shorter tail. The betas are stretched out a bit,
like a mixed, like a Gila with a Alvarezi coloration.
Yeah. And but also scalation of nothing else. There's not another animal in the world that's built like that.
Yep.
Super cool. They have fucking like cartoon dragon scales.
Yep.
I don't think I had ever held one before either. Only ever seen a handful in front of me ever in my life. And that's not I've probably told you this story or you've heard me tell it before, but it's not the first time that somebody's done that to me. Just like dropped a super rare lizard. Well, wasn't a lizard, but into my hands. I was at the Dallas Zoo one time. We were in the back, and he took us outside to a separate building, and the building has a fence around it, and he punches in a security code, and I'm like, and he opens the gate, and then he's got a key for the door, opens the door, and we walk in, and it's just this one glass cage that like wraps around two of the walls, and it's cold as shit in there. And we walk in, and it's their Tuatara building.
Yeah.
And he just reaches in and grabs a whole ass Tuatara and just hands it to me. And I was just like I didn't know how to react or what to do. Like, it was like somebody just had a baby in front of me and like handed me the baby. I didn't want to drop it, and I just like kind of froze up. And I don't know if you ever touched one before, but there's not. There's not another animal that feels like that.
Right.
They're similar to like a baby parrot, like parrot with no feathers, like the skin, that kind of like just like mushy skin feeling.
I held a Tuatara, but not a baby parrot, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, they I've raised a lot of parrots. It's been it's a very, very long time ago, but in the pet store days. But they're very bird-like overall. They're just the way their head like moves, and their eyes and their eyelids are very weird. They're just weird. And you look at their structure, or like an untrained eye looks at that structure and it says lizard. But when you have that thing in front of you, like it's just completely different. It's just not a lizard at all.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like peak stuff right there. And that was almost 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, super cool experience.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. Nothing like it, and it's an experience you can have at very few places in the world.
Yeah, and that even the tiniest percentage of reptile people ever get to experience.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For
I mean,
actually,
that's the coolest reptile experiences of my entire life have been like that and putting my hands on a couple of Komodos.
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And then probably the one time I handled a king cobra as well. It was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. The elapids kind of freak me out, but if I like,
yeah, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah. Well, if you told me I had to keep an elapid and just pick one, that's what it would be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You wouldn't pick a death adder over a king cobra, knowing you and your taste?
No, they don't do it for me, man. They don't do it for me.
So you like the Bitis, but you don't like the death adders.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know how to describe it. There's just something different. And the Bitis are like an exception to the rule that I don't like squatty snakes that much. I don't know what it is, and I don't even like all of the Bitis. Like, I think a couple of dwarfs are kind of neat. I've got the 3 classics, and then I've got have I sent you, surely you saw my story, or maybe I sent you pictures. I got the special ones.
Yeah, I saw it on social media. I was like, I guess I'm not cool enough to get these pictures in the DM, but
yeah. And it's actually very unlike me, but I posted those pictures the day that I got them in. They got confiscated last year. I don't know if you know that.
I thought you meant the ones you got. I was like, oh fuck. No, I know the whole lore behind the Parviocula these days, and everybody's saying, "Oh, you can't bring them in. They're gonna snag them up. There, you can't do it." So I'm like,
they did.
Yeah.
It took quite a few months to get them back. USARK helped with that. So, pretty cool.
They were yours.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, Nick Bottom loves them. They don't do it for me as much as I actually, like, God, people will hate me for saying this, but I think puff adders and rhinos and gaboons are all cooler than Parviocula.
All right, everybody, that's the episode. Patrick is done. That type of language is unacceptable here. This has been Kush's Corner. No, but no, they are the number one Bitis.
They're super cool, and Nick feels the same way. And he's been wanting to get them for a long time. So there was we almost got some from Paul a while back, but this is not me saying anything about Paul, but there were some animals that came through the same channel that had paramixo, and including one of the Mangshan vipers that we got. And so we were just kind of sketched out about that. So getting our first pair of Mangshans and losing the female to paramixo is fucking.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the unfortunate truths of dealing with these international venomous deals is that no matter where the animals come from, no matter where the animals go, they all come to the same place, and they sit there for a much longer period of time than it ever would be in the United States, because we can ship and they can't. So it's in the care of one person who doesn't own either, or who's not the owner on the selling side or the purchasing side. He's just a middleman, and typically they don't really care as much as either side of that arrangement. So you could be buying a perfectly healthy animal from a great seller, and you could have a great collection, be a great buyer. That person in Europe who's going to have that snake for a month could fuck up everything.
And whereas some things are actually, it would be exceedingly difficult to pass it off in a short period of time. Paramixo is not on that fucking list. That shit is fucking contagious, man.
Yeah.
So it passes very, very readily.
It's one of the scary ones. We talk a lot, and we had a really awesome conversation with Dr. Stahl at Tinley about virology.
Yes.
But, you know, we're all very isolated as far as discussions on virology goes within reptiles, with discussions on pathogens. If you're an arboreal guy, you're nido. If you're a colubrid guy, you're crypto. If you're a gecko person, you're crypto. If you're venomous, you're paramyxo and crypto. And, you know, and like adenovirus. If you're a boa guy, you're IBD. Like, it's all, you know, everyone has their own thing that they're most concerned about. The venomous have the most, it seems.
Yeah.
And they're bad. Like we have paramyxovirus and we have fucking adenovirus and we have crypto. And you know, some communities only have to deal with one of those. We got to deal with all three.
Well, this is a topic for another episode. And actually something, well, you heard me talking to Scott about it, where, you know, I've been working on that with MJ about getting kind of a little roundtable episode going with some cool information from very different perspectives. About reptile diseases and testing and husbandry and quarantine and biosecurity protocols and all that stuff. You know, and most snakes can get most of these diseases. They just tend to be more common in one or the other, and also more and less problematic. Right. But less problematic for the individual, especially with something that's not treatable, is not always less problematic in general, because something that terrified the shit out of me was getting paramyxo in one rack, and it burned through a couple of squams like that. But the handful of Bredl's pythons that got it, one of those, 5 of the 6 in there got it. One of them lived for 6 months with it, and I tested it more times than I can remember. And even while symptomatic, it did not always pop positive. Wow. Yeah. I was running oral and cloacal swabs every time, testing it while symptomatic, and it lived 6 months testing positive and occasionally negative for paramyxo.
Jeez.
That's terrifying, dude. When vipers get it, they refuse a meal, they get a little clicky, and they fucking roll.
Yeah.
Like it kills them fast, like 2 weeks. It kills them fast. And but yeah, it's not easy to test for. And I had no idea that a python could live that long with it. Leave it up to be a Bredl's python, though. That's got to be an argument for toughest snake on the planet.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's scary. It makes you fucking, at least for me, it makes me want to just have a shutdown collection, you know, not have to ever even have to concern myself with stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, eventually, the idea with me is to set up, you know, I'd like to have 2 or maybe even 3 different facilities, and eventually have a space that is filled with, that's my personal collection, that is filled with nothing but animals that I produced and went through my protocols for, you know, that happened in my baby room.
Yeah, this is actually a good question here from Jordan.
Is it always fatal?
Assuming he's referencing paramyxovirus, take it away.
I believe that it is. Yeah. I believe that it is. And I don't know a whole lot about that virus. I just know that it's terrifying and it seems to impact. There's a version of it that I think is really bad for pythons. I think there's been a lot of that in Australia, and they call it like sunshine virus or something like that. That's a type of paramyxo.
Okay.
But
I knew that was another name for something else, so that would make sense.
Yeah. And to answer that question a little further, because this is, I guess, I was not keeping them going. I've told this story on a podcast before. I'll make it brief because we need to get back to the Tinley stuff. But I am very fortunate that I the rack that got Paramyxo in it was the last rack that I worked in the baby room. And there's a reason it was the last rack. It wasn't like luck or coincidence. There's a reason that rack was last. But I'm fortunate that I'm strict about my order of operations, and I move around my room counterclockwise.
Gotta be.
Almost always bottom to top, and in any given rack, it's youngest animals first. That's just how that's there, and there's a little more to it than that. But I had some squams in a rack that were coming from somebody who, same thing, bunch of stuff coming in from Africa and different places and getting funneled through one small space. And that year, that person had something like 1,800 squams move through that room in a very short period of time.
Oh my God.
Well, a whole bunch of females. They had like 30 some odd females drop babies, and like there's a lot. So anyways, that's all that was in that rack was squams and Brettles pythons, some baby Brettles. And the only reason the Brettles were in there is because the room was pretty full, and the gaps in that rack are pretty big, and the Brettles don't need any humidity, so don't worry about them drying out. But I took every animal in there and put them in a smaller rack, and I stuffed that rack into a corner away from everything else, and essentially neglected everything in there. Just gave them fresh water and stayed away from it, and did it at last after everything else. And not one other squam died. It was had already done what it was going to do at that point. But I know when I'm feeding those baby Brettles, there's just a few of them. I'm changing their water with the same hand. I'm feeding them off of the same tongue. So I just passed it right through them, and must have been one night that I was feeding and fed a couple baby squams first, and then fed them or water changes or whatever. Had to have been how it happened.
So is the mode of transmission for Paramyxo saliva, fecal? Is it both? What is the mode of transmission?
I'm thinking it's probably both. I don't believe that it's airborne. I've heard people say that, but I don't think that it is. But I'm thinking it's definitely saliva, but I think fecal as well.
Okay. I mean, man, are there really any pathogens that we as keepers deal with that are truly airborne?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's what I'm aware of. Because I remember early Nido days, there were rumors or whatever that it was airborne for some time frame after, blah blah before the.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, I don't either. Because if that was the case,
it would be a problem. The closest thing, this is not actually airborne. The closest thing to airborne is that forage flies are a vector for crypto.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. Also, a little shout out to Riley there. Got to meet her. Did you meet her at Tinley?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Her and her dad were there. I had been talking to her dad a little bit. He hit me up about a Brettles python, but I didn't have exactly what they were looking for. So I sent them to Lucas. Shout out to Lucas too.
Which one?
California. Yes, California Lucas. What's his
Lucas Lee?
Yeah, Lucas Lee.
Shout out to Lucas. There's a handful of Lucas.
Centralian. No, we're talking about Centralian pythons. Lucas is awesome, and he's got
some badass animals, man.
Badass. He has some of the nicest Womas out there. Really badass Brettles. I have a pair of Brettles that I got from him. Also PDC Reptiles. That's my little brother.
Oh yeah.
That's the one. That's Bobby that you stayed with.
What's up, Bobby?
He just got some focus cube cages for Evie for her ball pythons. But he got them. Yeah, he's picking them up tomorrow. Driving down to pick them up. Got like custom focus cubes for her ball pythons.
That's
cool
awesome.
As shit.
Oh yeah.
Hell cool. Yeah. The question Marcus is asking, it's like, I would assume that that's kind of how a lot of stuff travels, is on particles, attaching to particles in the air. But I don't know enough about that to really even speak on that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Lisa's asking, why would a virus in snakes evolve to be airborne when snakes don't cough?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Snakes do kind of cough or sneeze a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
not.
No,
They're not really. Yeah, they're not really like expelling a whole bunch of moisture when they
right.
do that. So but they do kind of. Yeah, ask me how I know that.
I wonder why.
Yeah, fuck.
Amateur NIDA research.
So, what did you think was the coolest animal at Tinley?
Oh man. So I'll answer this in two ways. The animal that I saw that I most wanted to take home, and that would be the Depii, the Durango Mountain pine snakes.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't. I needed to restrain, but I wanted those forever. And there were some pretty decent looking ones at the show, some normals and a couple of hypos. But then selfishly, I'd want to say the 3 scrubs that were at the show that I produced.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it wouldn't even be necessarily a far cry, but then the one that I saw, the animal that I saw at the show that I was like, damn, that's fucking sick, were the baby Shinosaurus at Ron St. Pierre's.
Yes.
Those were badass.
Yes. Yeah, and those were they were over there at Ron's table, but they were produced by Dan or his girlfriend, I think, Dan Sheehan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's where I was standing at when he handed, because I sent you that picture of me holding a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's where they were at, was right next to Ron's table. God damn, I'm sorry, dude. My brain is fried. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that those the ones you're referring to were from Dan. Dan's. Have you ever had Dan on?
No.
He does Boiga and some other stuff, and he's super cool. We're in the little group chat together, and yeah, he like yet another thing that, you know, like last time it was the shingle back. This time I walked back there and he just straight up hands me a baby crocodile lizard, Shinosaurus. I was like, holy shit, it's so tiny. And they also have you ever held one of those?
No.
Super interesting texture and feel. They
look sharp.
Yeah, they're very coarse on the back and very soft on the belly. So super cool. I've never held one of those before either.
Yeah.
So, and I say they were his because besides the fact that he handed them to me, I'm assuming they produced them. I can ask him, but he told us before he brought them that he was taking them to the show. So that was super cool to see.
Nice.
I've seen them at shows a couple times, but I've never seen babies like that.
Yeah, that was
super cool.
Really, really cool to see. What about for you? Are there any animals that really stood out to you that I didn't say?
So one of the things that stood out, you know, if you looked at my story, you would notice what I was paying attention to. A lot of people don't know how obsessed I am with frogs, and a lot of insect eaters. I'm a hardcore chameleon guy too, and I just don't have the time and space for bug eaters. You know, I keep mostly snakes because they're so low maintenance.
Yeah.
But Jay had a 3.1 of Boana picturata. I don't even know what their common name is, but Brian Fisher ended up with those. And
what are they? Chameleons?
No, sorry, that's a tree frog. They're
I was gonna say, like, what?
Brian's in the chat right now. Brian, what's the common name of those frogs that you just got today? Yeah, they're just absolutely incredible tree frog species.
Okay.
Those were super cool to me. I was if Scott had been there, I would say that it's the Boland's pythons, because I'm just kind of always going to say that that's the coolest thing, because to me they're just one of the coolest reptiles. That dude, that barneck that you produced that was there was one of the nicest snakes at the show.
Yeah,
for sure. But I have scrubs, and I have your scrubs, and I've been keeping scrubs for a long time. So the things that I was geeking out the hardest on, Mullendorfi really does it for me. And how many Mullendorfi have you seen at shows ever? Like maybe a few dozen or something in your whole life or whatever.
Yeah, man, one of the species that I used to keep that I heavily regret not anymore. And the only reason I didn't is that somebody who was not named me neglected to snap a lid on my female's tub, and it was never seen again. So I just had to.
No.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I never would have gotten rid of my Mullendorfi. But but here it's a Imbabura tree frog.
Oh, that doesn't fucking help at all. Thanks, Brian.
Well, no, Mullendorfi are amazing. I think I probably my first mentor, who was also my pediatrician in Chicago, had Mullendorfi.
Yes,
probably as early as like 2012. So I've been aware of them for he had a big adult male. I think it was like 7 feet long.
Big, dude.
And when they get big, their heads get very triangular and like bulky.
Yes.
They're not like the other Orthriophis. They're definitely not. They're not beauty snakes, but like in the best way possible.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they, if there's any beauty structurally that they're most like, I would say it's blue beauties because of the size, and blues can get a bulky head when they get big. Some of the, like the Tinley complex, they seem to like be the opposite. You don't see those with big giant bulky heads. You see it more in blues and Ridley eye. But they are not beauty snakes at all. They have a different build, and big males are, I mean, they can go like 8 feet long, maybe 8 foot plus, and they're super impressive. And all of the morphs are super cool. The patternless, the aberrant, the hypos, the albinos, they're all fucking like mind-blowingly beautiful snakes. And I would say that I still like the normals better than all of them, but like there's lots of snakes where the morphs are just not even anywhere near as cool as the normals are. No, they're all super cool in their own way.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about the patternless is that green ground color is so unique. And can be almost a bluish. It's like somehow like a muted olivish army green, but also has like this bluish. It's just such a unique tone. It's hard to describe without seeing it in person. What else was there that was super cool? Don't hate me, guys, but I don't fucking king rats don't do it for me. I think they're super cool, but I would never keep them. The big ones,
they're
when you see a big one, they're impressive.
They're badass and they're impressive. And when I went to visit John Lohman of Palm Beach Colubrids back before Daytona, I was like, man, I might leave here like with a new obsession. And I really loved the king rats. That was amazing. But when I got my hands on them, I'm like, physiologically, this is a Pituophis.
Yeah.
So I have this kind of snake already, just from the opposite
texture.
side of the world.
Yes.
That confident, big. They're bulkier than I thought they'd be. They're stockier. I thought they'd be more of like beauty snake, but no, they're they're
very big, and then they inflate too because they're a little bit of a nervous snake.
So when I left, I was like, all right, I don't need to get a building full of these, but I had a stronger appreciation than when I got there. But I was like, I have the same snake more or less already.
Yeah, and for me, it's a head shape thing. I like pronounced head shapes, and they just don't do it for me. I dig the texture, and some of the morphs are really neat too.
Yeah. I like some of the different localities, like the Japanese king rats. I think are really badass. The Fujian ones are really cool. No, I love them a lot. I'm just not sure if keeping them is in my near future.
To me, the coolest thing about king rats is while they physically, they are kind of an analog for pits, right? But lots of snakes have like some analogs in their color or patterning, like animals that are similar. There is no other snake that looks even remotely like a king rat that I can think of off the top of my head.
And you could draw a very like far out comparison with Spilotes.
Yeah, really far out.
Yeah, as far as like how the pattern kind of overlays, but like the base on a Spilotes is obviously black and they're more greenish, like a dark green. It's not very similar, but you're right. There's not much of a comparison to be made anywhere there.
Yeah. It's a snake where either like you're not gonna like confuse it for something else. Either you know what it is, or you don't know what a king rat is.
That's definitely true. No question there.
Yeah. Were there any non-snakes at Tinley that you that had you like thinking about having a non-snake or anything like that?
No, but only because there's so few non-snakes that even give me that inclination. So most of I took almost no pictures, but I took a lot of videos. So I'm just gonna try to like, and
I hope you're putting music over some of those, because you and I were talking some pretty serious shit. Well, making some videos.
My show videos are entirely with music. There's a couple moments where I'm about to cut the music for some people, but that's a good question. I thought that back to the Ron St. Pierre table, some of Heather's blue tongue, the morphs, the albinos, the patternless, like really, really cool. So I got to give a shout out to them. Those blue tongue morphs were gorgeous. I
talked to Ron for like an hour.
Yeah,
I love Ron. Yeah, he's so fucking cool, man.
Definitely. I mean, they are always doing something unique over there. So never a bad table to walk by. But so how about this? I threw that out. What do you have for unique lizards, or I guess it's non-snake? Well, let's go lizards, because you were talking about the frogs.
Well, so like the fucking shinosaurs have always been something that's had my eye, and the shinosaur is like, if you want a caiman lizard but more practical,
true.
That's a good option. But there's always Eurypletus geckos are some of my favorite lizards. I'm really, really, really love leaf-tail geckos, and there weren't a ton, but there was a good handful of those there. There were some
Fantasticus, right?
Yeah, I can't remember these guys' names. I follow them on Instagram, but they have some of the bigger species. They have Hinkali and Fimbriatus and whatnot.
Okay.
I may, one of the cool things about having friends that work with things that you want, like there's some, like Brian Fisher has, Parsons chameleons and Eurypletus geckos. And it's cool because I kind of get to like,
you live vicariously through them.
Vicariously enjoy it, but I also know that if I ever decide I need to do it, he's over there doing that thing, And
I mean, the deeper you get into the hobby, the more connections like that you make, and like the less you feel like you need to keep everything.
Yes. Yeah, nice. I know.
It's nice to not have to feel like you need to do that.
Oh, because I'm terrible with it. I'm already. I mean,
you're much worse than me by a long shot.
And the thing that's terrible is I would also like to have like a whole greenhouse full of chameleons and geckos and frogs and fucking, and just like, I don't even, when I think about like the stuff I want to keep, I try to just only think about snakes, because there's a million other things. So I'm obsessed with tree monitors, dude. Tree monitors are some of the most interesting reptiles you could possibly keep.
I have a little too much trauma associated with tree monitors to probably work with them, but
I feel you on that. But there's also the ultimate tree monitor, which is the croc.
Yeah, well, and before I get to Lisa's comment, yeah, the thing like with croc monitors, I fucking love croc monitors. They were probably my favorite monitor to work with, but I look back and I'm like, I don't have any scars or missing fingers or anything like
Got
that.
lucky.
I might want to keep it that way. Like maybe I should
Yeah.
like have enjoyed
Yeah.
my croc monitor time and just kind of like enjoy my snakes now.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I believe there were some Agernia there.
There were, yeah, there were. I think there were even some I think there was some Depressa there. It wasn't just like the typical Stokes eye that you see. Not that Stokes eye aren't cool as well, but yeah, I always like Agernia. There's always some cool Agernia and Pomona, which is one of the highlights every single time.
They're such a unique lizard.
Yeah, they really are. Did you see sun gazers? And Marcus is asking. There were
No.
in California at Pomona, which was like.
Oh, were there really?
I mean, probably still, I would say the coolest reptile I've ever seen at a reptile show was seeing sun gazers at the reptile show. I'm like, this is insane. Like, why are there sun gazers here? Like,
yeah. Have you ever held one?
No, I've not.
Oh, dude.
I think I may have either touched the one at Reptilandia or just got really, really close to it. But that's as close as I got to a sun gazer. It was a Reptilandia.
Yeah. I think I held one way back in the day when they came in 30-something years ago, but also held one at Reptilandia, and they feel exactly how they look. And it's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
They feel like the little 3D printed snakes and lizards that they have in all the reptile shows now.
Yeah.
This like rock solid segmented thing.
Yeah.
So fucking cool, man.
That's funny. Yeah, but I'm trying to think. I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff there, man. There's some cool locality boas. We were talking about that.
Yes.
Warren,
great locality.
Warren had some really neat stuff on his table. I haven't seen Warren in a long time, so it was really cool to get to talk to him.
Been a while for me too, man. I hung out with Warren quite a bit. Shout out to Warren Booth, man. Warren's he's a G, dude. I love that guy.
Had Warren on the show, and it's definitely way overdue. I need to get him on this show.
Yeah. You never had him on?
I did Unfiltered episode with him back in the day, but as far as my show, Kush's Corner, I haven't. And he's actually, I made a list before I started the podcast of like guests I'd love to have, and his name is on the list. It just has never been checked off. So
well, make it happen.
Absolutely. Marcus asks a good question. Which color is your favorite of the tree monitors? I'll let you answer this one first because I have my answer.
Man, so I don't know. This is kind of, it trips me out that what my answer to this is, because my mind wants me to say either blue or black, because blue or black, anything is super cool. But I just love classic green tree monitors.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew
classic Prasinus, dude. They're the coolest.
Yeah, I'm gonna go yellows.
Yeah, yellows are. They're all beautiful. I love like black and blue are awesome, but there's just something about, I don't know. There's just something about the classic green tree that really does it for me.
I wonder why. I wonder why you like the green tree. I wonder why.
Hey, there's Steve Doss. I got to meet that guy too in person, Mr. Steve Doss. He's super cool.
Yep.
And he is absolutely right. It is Dr. Warren Booth.
Steve is the only guy whose entire booth will be gone by about 11 a.m. on Sunday, and he'll just be sitting there talking shit to everybody because everyone else still has their whole booth there. They're all gone. I sold all my cages. It's like, okay, thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Well, he had a trio of adult emeralds on his table, and I saw those, and I was like, you selling those? He's like, no, just bought them. I was like, yeah, this is my kind of guy.
Yeah. Just flexing on everybody with the emeralds.
Yeah. He's got a lot of emeralds. And we started the conversation not knowing who. I didn't know that he was him, and he didn't know that I was me. And we both know who we are. You know what I'm saying? So I was just I've been looking for an adult male emerald, and so I just that's why I saw those, and I was like, shit, I wonder if there's a nice male in there.
Yep. Just teasing everybody.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, he did. He had them stacked up right out there on the table.
doing Steve Doss things. Yeah, but man, overall, man, that was a super fun weekend. I really, I hadn't been to Tinley in 3 years, and I'm so glad that I went. It was such a good time.
Yeah. Also, looks like we got a Ryan Young in the house as
Yes,
well.
we do. The king himself, the
Yeah.
Barnick Egg King.
I saw that. Congratulations, Mr. Ryan Young, on producing your 700 millionth python.
Yep. Just he's sitting on top of the mountain on his throne, just looking down at all of us peasants. How it should be.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Somebody in the comments said they got their first Brettles python at Tinley, which is super cool. I will die on the hill that Brettles pythons are super underappreciated and underrated. It's one of my absolute favorite snakes. Yeah, he says that. Ryan says that like a true traumatized chondro breeder, but he's gonna hatch those fucking eggs.
I mean, if you're a python egg at Ryan's house, it's an honor to hatch there. I don't know what you're saying.
Highborn, he's changed his name to Highborn Pythons.
It's like they are so lucky to be born in the Python King's facility.
Fuck.
Oh man, I can see his face right now, and I'm just so happy.
One of the things I love about Ryan is he is somehow able to be simultaneously humble and snobby. It's fucking fantastic. It's a unique.
I think a lot of it comes down to just minimal effort put into typing things on the internet.
Well, yeah, and with his disdain for hybrid chondro.
Yeah,
that's cool though. We need more locality snobs in the community versus because humble the elitist hybrid guys, nuts, butt makers, butt mongers.
And the thing that a lot of them don't want to admit is that, man, a really nice line bred, pure locality, pure subspecies green tree python is nicer than like 90% of designer green tree pythons, and everyone's just going for that top 10%, and those look fantastic. I'm not gonna say they look better than the localities, but Ryan has posted some locality chondros that are nicer than most designer chondros.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of since they're both in the chat, dude, I don't know if you noticed it or not, Steven, but that Aru that Brian Fisher produced and posted recently is spectacular, dude.
I'm gonna need to see if I saw that.
Yeah, he just recently posted it. I'm pretty sure that one was sired by the male that I picked up for him a few years ago. That is, in my opinion, the nicest one in the country. And I know I'm like not supposed to be saying this or whatever, but you had mentioned like line bred locality stuff. All of my favorite locality animals are wild caught, except with the exception of the Prado Maniquari stuff. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Brian Fisher, Front Range Arboreals, producing a ridiculous Aru, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's my favorite chondro right there. End of sentence. Is a really nice high white Aru.
And for a captive bred one, that one's got a ridiculous amount of white on it.
Yeah, I don't think you can get better. I mean, for me, you can't get better than that, but
Yeah, that's Ryan's favorite too, man. Super cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're right about that hour mark. I'm going to hit these commercials real quick.
Okay.
On the other side. So everybody sit tight, stay with us. We will be back here in just a few minutes.
Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Shout out tonight's sponsor brought to you by ZooMed.
ZooMed is proud to be supporting the Trap Talk Reptile Network. At ZooMed, reptiles are our passion. For over 48 years, we've been creating premium foods, supplies, and habitats for reptiles and other exotic animals. We're a company made up of hobbyists that test our products on the hundreds of animals that we care for here every single day. Whether you're an established breeder or a first-time hobbyist picking up your first ball python, Zoom It has you covered with everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy.
I'm excited to talk about this new product with Zoom Ed called the Slither Sense. It is a remote temperature and humidifying monitoring system, which we all know how important temperature and humidity is to your reptile. And for you to have remote access to your temperature and your humidity in your reptile room could really, really be a game changer for the longevity of you keeping reptiles. So guys, make sure you check out that product. Find the link in the description below. Click on it right now. Give me your feedback in the comments below. Let me know how you're liking a brand new Zoom Ed product. Shout out to tonight's sponsor, Workshop Reptilium. Josh Hansen is doing things different over in his facility. He has one of the most diverse, beautiful reptile collections currently in the reptile hobby today, but he is doing things differently when it comes to enclosures, thinking outside the box, giving these reptiles bigger enclosures. I feel like it's something this hobby needs. So a lot of exciting stuff to come from Workshop Reptilium. I'm going to be flying up to his place to give you guys a deeper look into his facility. And I'm also excited to have an episode with Josh so he can explain himself where his goals are headed when it comes to keeping. Thank you so much, Josh Hansen over at Workshop Reptilium. Make sure you head over to Instagram. Make sure you head over to Facebook. Also, make sure you subscribe to him on YouTube. You can find all the links in the description below. Again, thank you so much, Josh, over at Workshop Reptilium. Shout out to tonight's sponsor, and that's the one and only Morph Market and Morph Market shipping. One of the biggest exciting things about the reptile hobby over the past couple years is Morph Market shipping taking everything to the next level. Anything as far as reptile purchasing or selling needs can all be done on Morph Market's website. So I highly suggest you go check it out, especially if you're in the market of purchasing your first, second, or third, or fourth reptile. You can find a bunch of legitimate breeders on Morph Market's platforms. They stand very tall on representing the best breeders we have in the hobby. So don't look anywhere else when it comes to looking for your new reptile. Not to mention, if you're looking for aquatics or your next plant, Morph Market's a spot for you as well. Make sure you head over to morphmarket.com. And the best thing about Morph Market's platform, you could ship directly from their website with Morph Market shipping. Morph Market shipping has saved this hobby millions of dollars as a whole. I myself saved thousands with Morph Market shipping last year due to their insanely cheap rates. So definitely go take advantage of these rates on top of the amazing customer service that comes along with Morph Market shipping. Shout out to Darian and Zach, and shout out to the entire Morph Market team. So proud to be a part of this team. Thank you so much for Morph Market shipping and Morph Market, and so excited to announce new Morph Market features that are going to be hitting the reptile hobby real soon, like live sales on Morph Market. Thank you so much, Morph Market and Morph Market shipping.
Alrighty, everybody, we are back. Hello, Patrick. Welcome back.
Hello. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about Tinley before we move on?
I mean, I think we've said a lot about what needs to be said, but I mean, overall, just fantastic time. I'm very happy that I was back, and I hope I make it for October. I'm not sure about this June Tinley.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to make that either. I want to, but I doubt I'll make it.
I think especially from across the country, probably not going to make it, but October, I definitely want to be back. So hopefully I can make it back, and hopefully I can see a lot of you guys there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not looking good for September for Dallas, but right. It's not over yet. We're working on it. I'm actually working with those guys to try to help them find a venue.
Okay.
They haven't completely ruled it out yet, so it's it still says to be determined on the website, but I will definitely be at October Tinley, and there's going to be, we're going to have a pretty heavy chondro community presence there in October, so I'm excited about that. Like
just from a people attending standpoint, or even vending?
Yeah, people attending.
Okay.
So there's some guys that I've been talking to about it for the last few days. And yeah, that'll be a good time.
Nice.
But I absolutely love going out and having like dinners with these guys and stuff. I did it in Colorado when I was up there. I had a big old chondro head dinner up there. It was super cool. But a lot of times I'm, kind of exhausted from talking to people all day. And Saturday at Tinley, it was awesome to just have Mr. Stephen Kush as my dinner date. And me and him went out and had some Italian. Yeah. And it was excellent meal, man, and just kind of kick back and hang out. before we went back to the hotel, to the madness at the hotel. And that was a highlight for me. And so was right after that, getting to hang out with Scott Stahl. Shout out to Dr. Scott Stahl.
That was really
super cool, man. Super cool dude. And I've been working with him for 15, 16 years. And that was my first time meeting him in person. We've been friends for a long time. Yeah. Scott helps me out immensely. He's the best reptile vet in the country, maybe the best in the world. Literally wrote the book. Brilliant fucking dude.
Yeah.
Brilliant dude.
Yeah.
Also, not sure how I should feel about it, but I've been able to stump him more than once.
Hey, that's where progress comes from. But yeah, Brian,
for sure.
Brian says he needs a piece of that cannoli cake in October, and I agree.
Oh, dude,
very worth it.
Did you go back? Did you finish yours at your room?
I forget.
What?
I forgot about the cannoli cake.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Well, at least you had some of it.
Yeah, but man, yeah, when the next morning I went out there, I was like, oh, the cannoli cake. Yeah. Oh my. All right. If Ryan Young attends October Tinley, the world may come to a full halt for a weekend. That would break Tinley if Ryan Young showed up.
Please come hang out with us, Ryan. We're not worthy.
Please come entertain us peasants for a weekend in the south suburbs of Chicago.
I know we can get Ryan and Brian in the same room geeking out on Aru.
Yep.
And then I'll come through and explain why they're my least favorite locality.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
I'm fucking Team Biak over here, bro. You know what it is.
Hey, that doesn't mean that's least favorite. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before. Biaks are actually, while they're my favorite chondros to keep, Pulsar types are my favorite phenotypically. And also speaking of localities, Lisa had mentioned the next episode of the chondro locality show, and where that's coming real soon.
Which one? What's that going to be on? Or is it not announced?
I don't. You know what? MJ might try to beat me up for saying, because I don't know if it's been announced yet. So apparently, MJ has this thing about being the first one to talk about certain things.
Every now and then.
We have a restriction tonight. We have a subject that we're not allowed to.
We have been.
Yeah.
We have taken. No, I'm not even going to make that joke. Yeah, we have been censored for the evening, but coming to a trap talk soon near you. You get to hear about a litter of snakes that Patrick had from a snake that I sold him.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can narrow it down.
Well, to be fair, only a handful of people know about any of the background to that anyway. So
yeah,
we'll bring all that stuff up. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Speaking of stuff that, some successes that I've had over the last few months, I guess that was going to be the next thing we were going to talk about, was breeding last year and stuff that's coming up. Last year was a terrible year for me for the chondros. And I should be, I am grateful that I had 2 really nice clutches, and I actually had 5 clutches laid. So I had a decent number of females lay for me. And because of a bug that was going around in one of the rooms, one of the reasons I had low numbers is I just shut down breeding in one of the spaces to figure out what was going on in there.
Yeah.
And that's my main adult room. I just, so anyways, and still have that mostly figured out, but there's still a little bit of a mystery, something that doesn't add up there. It's one of the things that I was working on with Scott when I said I was able to stump him on something, but had a obscure parasite issue. That's something that comes from other reptiles, which is weird. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's called It's something we'll bring up later when we have some more conclusive stuff, but there's a parasite called entamoeba invadens that can cause stomach lesions or intestinal lesions. And because snakes have opportunistic bacteria that can get into those lesions and cause infections that can move around through the body, so it can be problematic and fatal. Pretty weird. But it was good to be able to figure that out. It took a lot of like weird stuff to figure that out, and then finally, and shout out to Chad Lytle for being able to run a PCR test on anything, and shout out to Scott for suggesting it. And then I got a positive PCR for entamoeba in a fecal swab, and just it's a fairly simple fix. Just started running Flagyl and some antibiotics to some stuff. So
okay, yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I actually had 5 females lay, and one of them gave me like 30 fucking slugs. Big old kink, my Biak female, that's the mother and grandmother of many amazing animals that I have.
Yeah.
And she's like 16 or 17 years old or something like that, and such a badass snake, man. I love her to death. She's a sweetheart and just a great snake. And yeah, she gave me, I want to say something right around 30 slugs. And 2 females had very small clutches with very poor fertility. And I didn't hatch any of them. And I don't know if it was just because they were small, bad clutches, but I did also have a power outage issue with while those 2 clutches were in the incubator together. And so but I'm not sure if that affected them or not. I also had a power outage issue with a different clutch. And while I was at Bill's party in September, there was a storm and a power outage. And my cousin came over and plugged in an incubator to one of my power sources. And I didn't know at the time, but that thermostat doesn't jive with that power source. And it just sent the thermostat wide open. So 100%. Yeah. So I came home after a power outage, and my incubator was reading 93 degrees. And I was like, oh, well, these eggs are fucked. I guess it was just because it was temporary and the eggs are in the box. But, and I don't know how long it took for it to get that hot in the incubator. But I opened it up and cooled it back down in just a couple of minutes. Yeah. And there were 13 eggs. I think that one had already gone bad along the way, but I hatched 9 out of 12, I guess. And there was no like, and this is like in the middle of incubation. So I was expecting a bunch of dead in the egg babies or deformed mutants or something like that. No, it's a great clutch. So,
I mean, you can imagine that in the wild there, that could potentially happen. Really hot day, the female's out basking, and I mean, who knows? But at least it wasn't prolonged. If it was a couple of days, then you may have been looking at, real trouble. But
it's a really cool observation that my buddy Brian Hummel made one time during a heat wave in Texas. He walked into his room and he had he did maternal with all of his pythons unless they rejected the eggs. He did maternal, even ball pythons. And he walked into his room and it's 93 degrees in that room, a bunch of maternally incubating jungle carpets and shit. And he started temp gunning egg masses, and the females were keeping the egg masses at 88, 89 degrees when it was 93 in the room. How cool is that?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, is there any, so chondros aside, rough year for the chondros, but I also can't help but wonder if there's not maybe it's not a coincidence that I did well with a bunch of other stuff while having maybe I wasn't paying quite as close of attention to the green trees.
Yeah. I mean, probably
green trees are not a species that you just passively reproduce like the bull snakes that are over there.
Yeah.
next to, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to have success. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
is there anything? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, kind of go through what else you had last year. Maybe start colubrids and then finish venomous.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, is if there's anything in particular that you want to hear about. I mean,
Yeah.
I did my typical bulls and corn snakes last year. I love hatching out bull snakes and corn snakes. They mostly, even you got some of both from me, and I don't keep anything that I don't love, and the corn snakes, I definitely am not making a bunch of money off of the Okatee corns. They kind of pay for themselves, and I like giving them away. I think didn't I give you yours?
Yeah.
And just make cool little gifts, man. And they're like, I think that my adults are fucking spectacular, and they produce spectacular offspring, and so they're one of the prettiest snakes in the United States as far as native species go.
No doubt.
And then Baird's rat snakes, hatched Texas Baird's rats for the first time in years, man. I used to breed those a long time ago. Probably my first time hatching those since maybe 2011 or something like that. And had 2 clutches from the same male, but one of them, the clutch I was really excited about, the eggs were not great, and I only hatched 1 baby. And it has a tiny little kink. And it escaped, and I caught it. And so I caught him right in the middle of the floor. Kind of knew I was about to also. Sometimes you never know. Sometimes you just get a feeling that you're about to.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then that's it for North American colubrids. And then, of course, I had the Boiga. I hatched out 3 clutches of Jimmy Cinta, all from the same female. That was the first time breeder, wild caught, that I got from Dan Malari. Shout out to Dan. Yeah. Triple clutch on her first time was super cool. And there was like a curve with the fertility. It was like 5, 8, 3, I think is what it was. And I hatched out 4, and 2, I think. I can't remember why I only hatched it. I think I had some dead in egg out of the clutch of 8, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But yeah, and that was super cool. I've kept Jimmy Cinta off and on since 2008, but it was not my first time trying to breed him. I had tried a couple other pairs before unsuccessfully. Gotten infertile eggs from one female, and the other female tried. I assumed she was retired already anyways. I didn't think she was going to go. She's a big, giant, older female that I had.
Okay.
But yeah, that girl, and that was just super cool. I got her as like a sub-adult from Dan and put some size on her and palpated follicles. And one of my friends, Kaylee Gibson, was asking me about palpating for follicles and pairing. She keeps mangroves, and I was like, I want to make her a little video of how to palpate. And so I pulled that female out because I'd been thinking about it, and she just happened to have follicles. And so I made this little video and like counted the follicles, and then paired her up with that male, and then came back in a little while later, and they were locked up in there. So yeah, so kind of funny that I just like got asked the question. I was like, oh, here, this is how you do this.
Yep. Sometimes it's how it goes.
Yeah.
Can't plan.
1 clutch of divergence. It was 10 eggs, but did not get a great hatch rate on those either. Hatched 4 out of 10. That was my biggest clutch. And that girl produced 2 years in a row for me and did not even double clutch. And now I'm kind of jumping ahead of us, but the melanota are up to size as well. So no follicles in the melanota yet, but there's some other mangroves that are getting ready to go together. So, you know, I'm superstitious and don't like to talk about specific things, but we will be trying for multiple mangroves this year.
Cool. So I have some mangrove questions. Well, you know what? We didn't we didn't hit the venomous first. Let's go through your venomous stuff and then we'll talk mangroves.
Okay. Okay.
You know, this will be my first year attempting mangroves and I want to.
Oh, yes. Yes. So this was my best year with vipers. I've been keeping venomous snakes for 30 years, but I only ever started trying to breed stuff about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and missed out. Had like some slugs and stills from puff adders and copperheads, and some just total misses on a couple of squam pairings. First venomous litter was puff adders in 2022, but last year, dude, I had 2 litters of squams, 3, but one of them was all bad. I had blue insularis. I had a fully stillborn litter of trigonocephalus, which is fucking super lame. I got 10 first-time female, no slugs, 10 perfectly formed. Those some of them seem slightly premature, but 10 stillborns from my that's Sri Lankan palm viper trigons. One of my favorite species. Fuck, that's a cool snake, man.
They're very cool.
And there's the obvious one that I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything else. But then fucking 13 babies from my Laticinctus female, which as a quick side note, I've been calling them Laticinctus in quotations because it looks like Laticinctus is not a species. They're just a color phase of Subannulatus, a dramatically different color phase of Subannulatus. But
yes,
we had the first, apparently, if I'd done a deeper dive, apparently a lot of people have speculated that was the case in the past. Somebody sent me pictures from a book where it was speculated. And, but then when I got my first litter the year before, and there was only one banded baby from it, both parents banded, and I got 3 greens and 1 banded. That's just shitty odds from a small litter, you know, but, so, and then the gods and the odds were in my favor this year, because out of 13, there were 2 greens and one of them was stillborn. Okay. Which reminded me of jokes that my chondro snob friends have made about dead yellow babies before. Because that's what they are in this case. It's the reds and the yellows, you know, the banded ones are the reds and the green ones are the ones that we're not looking for, right? My very first BI clutch, there was 2 yellows in it and they were both dead in the egg. And one of my very, very well-known, highly respected chondro breeder friends said, "Man, you dodged a bullet on that one." Fucking savages, dude. Yeah, they're savages. And no, sorry, it wasn't Nasicornis. That would be fucking great. I have 1 pair of rhinos, and I do want to breed rhino vipers. So I'm gonna take a swing at those. The male's kind of just now up to size, but the Laticinctus, that's Tropidolaemus laticinctus, broad-banded pit viper, Sulawesi temple viper. Those are common names. Exceptional individuals of that species are, in my opinion, as impressive of a snake as there is. I mean, what do you think about my big female? Like you've seen mine in person.
I mean, it's definitely one of those snakes that you can put in that conversation, no questions asked.
Yeah. She's like, the other female's really cool. Yeah. But the big girl, she's I've had her for like over 3 years, which a lot of people kill tropes, but most of the tropes that come in of all the types of tropes don't stay alive. Man, I still walk in there and I'm just like, oh my God, like, how are you real and how are you in my house? And anyways, I I managed to kill my male, so not sure what's up with that, but so I won't have any babies this year. I tried to snag another adult male last year and somebody beat me to it, and tried to get somebody in Texas to loan me one, but he was trying to get them to breed himself. And so, but I thought I was the first person in the world to breed those in captivity, but a guy in China did it on the same day as me last year.
Yep, I remember.
And yeah, beat me by a few hours too. So I'm calling it a tie. There's Indo guys that claim they bred them before, but none of them can show me any evidence of it. It seems to all just be babies born to wild caught females. And a few other people have done it now. It's happened in Italy, and a couple spots. A couple guys in Europe have gotten them. The guy in China repeated his pairing.
Nice.
But what was cool about my litter is that it was from a different female, and made me feel like it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
And then I got a big litter, and it was from a girl that I raised up, from a sub-adult, and I was just so excited. But the variety in the babies just blew my fucking mind. I can't believe they're like, there's like the classic banded look, and then some that are like black banded, and also my my one banded one from the first litter, her bands are black now. Like, she was the classic like red and white and green look as a neonate.
Really?
Her bands, her bands at a glance are jet black, but if you hold her in the light, they have like wine red, like highlights in there. I don't know what her OCC is doing. I don't know if that's like a transition to green like her mom, or if she's gonna be one of those purple black banded ones. I don't know.
Hey, it sounds pretty cool either way. That's fucking
cool. Well, and what's super cool about the variability in the clutch, that the litter that I got last year, is that is sired by the same male, and their mom is a fairly plain looking one. Like, she's still an insanely stunning animal. She's fairly plain. Yeah, relative. But there's like a huge range of variability in the neonate looks of those. And there's one that was like, he's starting to show some color, but he was basically black and white when he was born. Super cool stuff, man.
Okay. That's awesome.
But yeah, and to do it again with a different female just made me feel really good about the fact that I did that and didn't just luck into it. Yeah. And and puts me among a small number of people that have ever produced any Tropidolaemus in the United States ever, which is wild. And I have some other trope stuff working for me right now that's making me feel even less fluky. So
hell yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess as we kind of are in the last quarter of the episode or so, I want to end on this mangrove topic here. So
let's talk about mangroves.
Talked a little bit in private about mangrove breeding, but I was able to get should be almost 5-year-old captive bred melanota female at the end of the year to go along with my really nice aberrant male that I got from Dan Mallory. And so obviously with mangrove breeding, there's the constant worry of cannibalism, which is a very real thing with Boega.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and they're obviously rear fang venomous. So if you not the worst snakes to pull apart from each other, but definitely not the best. If you can avoid it. So what are your strategies when it comes to breeding mangrove snakes?
Sure. So, first of all, I imagine I probably already asked you this, but is the female bigger than the male?
They're like almost the exact same size.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. She can still eat them.
Figured.
even if they're the same size, she can still eat them.
Yeah.
So this doesn't help in this particular situation. But for those of you who are raising up mangrove snakes to breed, don't let the fucking super dwarf guys and the carpet guys hear me say this, but you can absolutely choose to manipulate the overall size of your animals based on fucking feeding. And you can choose. Yeah, I hope that ruffles some fucking feathers, but none of those guys are probably listening to this show right now because we're cooler than they are. Anyways, the males, if you get them like with only one exception, I've got a male that's smaller than the female I want to breed him to, but it's because he was a pain in the ass to feed because it's calories that, just like with everything else, that makes their size the way they are.
You got a retic guy backing you, so maybe this is not quite as controversial as you might think over here.
Yeah. So, it's, and I'm really just being like an asshole about it because it should be obvious. But if you get your males bigger than the females, it's almost always the females that do the cannibalizing.
Yeah.
And while they can kill a male and potentially eat a male that's their size, it won't be easy for them. And if he's bigger, they won't be able to eat him, and they probably can't kill him and probably won't even try. And while I've seen some pretty aggressive, male mangroves will grab females like bull snakes, something to be prepared for. And I have seen I've seen a pair locked up with the female's almost her whole head in the male's mouth. I've also had a pair locked up with almost the whole male's head in the female's mouth.
Oh, okay.
When it was that way, I separated them. When it was the other way, I actually didn't.
Yeah.
But what I did do, so Zach was at my house and I wasn't there, and he sends me this picture. And all I see in the picture is the lock. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then I was like, I wasn't home and I was doing something, and then I'm like, how you look at something and some parts of it don't register at first? I went back and looked at the picture and zoomed in, and I see the male's got the fucking female like this, and half her head is in and out. And I'm like, they're locked up and it's the male on her. I'll let it ride.
Yeah.
But then, I got home shortly thereafter, and he had, they had separated or whatever, but they actually let go pretty easily.
Okay.
I've only had one like real legit cannibalism attempt, and it's with my het axanthic pair, and the female is a little bigger than male, and the male is just not. If I really want to dedicate some time to like not feeding her and focusing on getting him bigger, I'm sure I could.
Yeah.
But they're like 5 years old now, and I had to pull his head all the way out of her mouth one time. She had him wrapped up and was trying to swallow him. That being said, she did not have follicles that I could palpate, and I put them together because there's evidence that just the presence of a male might induce follicle development.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to see how they would behave around each other, and I got my fucking answer. But the other time that they were locked up and she was chewing on his head, she did have follicles. So, who knows how that would have been? That might have ended up being a Black Widow situation, The key, and anybody who watches Dan's videos is aware of this. It's probably a good idea just not put them together if the female is not carrying follicles. And it's also a good idea to feed the shit out of both animals first. The likelihood that a female is going to try to eat a male if she had I fed mine last night. I'm going to pair tomorrow.
Yeah.
I want them to have real fast metabolism, as I'm sure you've seen. Adults pass meals in 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And And they shit 2 or 3 times for every meal, which is incredible. I don't understand how they.
They're very small shits per each time.
They are, but they also, like, you walk into the room and you know the second you step in the room that one of the mangrove snakes shit.
If it's a fresh shit, you definitely smell it.
Yeah, or in the water bowl.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. But yeah, feed them up really well. And, you know, I wait a full day so they're just digested enough to where they're not going to regurge if things get rough, right?
Yeah.
You don't want them to have feed them and then throw them together immediately thereafter. Well, first of all, they may start a feeding response going and smell like rats and start chewing on each other. But yeah, I've got multiple females with follicles right now. And I fed last night, and I'll pair some stuff tomorrow. I wish I had some storms coming through, but also, this is a tricky one. A lot of guys use the trick of misting pairs when they first put them together, especially if they're trying to prevent females from biting males. I've employed this with vipers and all kinds of stuff. I'll usually spray the female down and then put the male in and spray both of them. The thing that gets a little sketchy is that some mangrove snakes get real fucking pissed off if you miss them. And then things can get kind of chaotic and stressful in there.
Yeah.
And that's not a great environment for getting snakes to chill out and lock up. So you kind of want to know the individual animals and how they react to spraying before you choose to do that. And if you do spray, do the trick where you spray the roof of the ceiling of the enclosure and let it rain down on them versus just blasting them in the fucking face with your sprayer. Another trick is to introduce the female into the male's enclosure. That's actually almost always how I do it now.
Okay.
Because the female is going to be more prone to having a feeding response in her enclosure.
Makes perfect sense.
Because she's just, when you open the enclosure up, you're that dude that opens the enclosure and sticks food in there.
Yeah.
So how's it any different when you open it up and stick the male in there?
Very true.
While I don't, off the top of my head, I cannot ever recall getting a daytime lock with my mangroves. Maybe once with Jerseyguysballs, maybe not. I still often introduce in the morning.
Okay.
But if it's a day where I'm off work, which is like never anymore, apparently, on the off chance that my fucking employer is listening to this, I'll put them together in like late afternoon because that seems to like minimize the amount of time, but get them in there before they're like moving around with a feeding response going or whatever.
Okay.
Because I always feed at night, but otherwise it's before I go to work and I'll just toss them together, but I'll do it like 30, 45 minutes before I go to work.
Yeah.
So that I can run back through and check and make sure nobody's chewing on anybody before I go to work. Yeah. Yep. And I'll spray the cage down and then come back home. And again, the only like real cannibalism attempt was that one time, but that female has like, there was another time they were together where I could tell, and she had follicles and I could tell she was going to grab him and I just pulled him. I've also watched them chew on each other's sheds. And I watched my big male eat his own shed one time.
Okay.
I got a video of it. And here's another really interesting thing. All of my mangroves that were born in Russia, except for my first adult female that I bought as a small adult. And my first one was my big male, and I've seen him eat his own shed that one time as an adult. And that's the only time I've seen him do it. But he was like 3.5 feet long when I got him. And my first bigger female, she was, like I say, small adult when I got her. But I have raised 10 juveniles that were born in Russia. And every single one of them ate their sheds. Not all the time, but every single one of them did it until they were about 4 feet long.
Wow.
Precisely 0 of mine that have been born here have exhibited shed eating. It's literally 100% of the groups on each side.
Wow.
All of the Russian-born ones ate their sheds as juveniles. None of the ones that I've produced have eaten their sheds. And I've hatched them every year for this will be my, knock on wood, but my 5th year producing them in a row.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
That's crazy. Must be
cultural. It's definitely cultural.
In mother eat or shed.
I suspected, maybe that's just what it is. They're just gangster ass Russians, right?
Yeah. We have no food, we eat shed. Who need mouse when have shed
yeah,
skin?
Yes, precisely. Or it could be like the, it's a thing that, like, people who were, if their mother experienced starvation while they were in the womb, they can have an eating disorder because of it as an adult, which is like crazy that shit works like that. Trauma works that way, but it does. So, maybe that's what it is. But, I still don't know what that's about. And I suspected it for a long time because I was finding sheds that looked like they had passed through the snake's system. And then I actually caught one of them doing it while he was shedding. I have pictures of this. Caught him chewing on his own shed. And I'm like, is he like, so the first clue was I kept finding partial sheds, but the snakes were cleanly shed. Yeah. I'm like, why is your shed in pieces when like you clearly shed cleanly? And then when I caught that one doing it, I thought, are you like assisting yourself in shedding? Yeah. What are you doing? And then came in later and like he'd eaten like probably half of the shed. Wow. It just wasn't in there. And I was like, son of a bitch. So yeah, really weird behavior. And I've watched when I've done pairings, I always leave sheds in the cage if I'm getting ready to start breeding. Mm-hmm. And I've seen one snake grab the other one's shed and like chew on it a little bit, but then let go of it.
Yeah.
It's weird behavior. But yeah, that's all the tips and tricks for me, man. Feed them up, try to have your males bigger, supervise, check on them frequently. Don't parent. It's so easy to palpate follicles in them. So easy. Just don't pair them up until the girl's got follicles. If you're worried about it at all. If the male's bigger, maybe feed them up and pair them tentatively if the time of year is right and the weather is right. I have kept mine on strictly ambient and with supplemental heat and gotten perfectly great clutches both ways.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of a difference that makes. The female Jimmy Cincta that triple clutch, 0 supplemental heat.
Nice.
Just low to mid 80s during the day, 70s at night. I also pull my girls and put them in after they have their pre-lay shed. They have a nest box just in case I miss something or they have some odd timing or whatever. But when I know they're gravid and they have a pre-lay, I pull them and I stuff them into a 15-quart tub in a rack that's got a layer of damp perlite, a layer of mulch, and then some mixed up leaf litter and sphagnum moss. And I get the sphagnum just barely damp. So it's barely moist on top, but extremely humid in there. Like
Okay.
essentially an environment where if I'm gone, the eggs will be fine.
Yeah.
Won't get too wet, won't dry out, will be at a moderate temperature. That's in the front to back temperature gradient of my 15 quart racks is roughly the temperature gradient that's suitable for hatching mangrove snake eggs.
Okay.
So
Cool.
And I'll tell you about this when we finish, because I'm superstitious. But I recently did that this morning. Did that with a different colubrid species, and I'll tell you about it after the show.
All right.
So, what other questions do you have specifically about the mangrove?
I got a couple. So, when you do pair them, how long are you typically leaving them together for at a time?
If they have a lock, I'll separate afterwards.
Okay.
And if they don't, if they don't, a few days, because I'm trying to feed at like 4 and 5 day intervals. I'm giving the females, like I get them up to weight on rats, but when I'm feeding them during the breeding season, it's large mice, sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 large mice, but I throw a fistful of large mice at them, or 1 or 2 chicks. I want meals that are leaner and smaller that I can feed them more frequently like that without packing a bunch of fat on them, and without slowing down their digestion. And so I'm pulling, and it's also just to mitigate the cannibalism risk again.
Sure.
But if they lock up, I'll pull them right as soon as they're done, and then I'll feed the girl again a couple days later, and I'll put them back together. Off the top of my head, I could be wrong about this, and I really should keep records of all this shit. I'm fucking terrible about keeping records. Off the top of my head, while I have definitely seen males continue to court females upon reintroduction, I don't know that I've ever caught a second lock with a pair.
So they're one and done, it seems.
Dude, when you see what happens when they lock up, you're going to understand how it's one and done.
You've sent me some pictures. It's very much akin to like what I see with my palm vipers.
It's fucking X-rated. Like it gets, the first time I caught it, I was like, whoa, like it's very fucking graphic.
Yeah. What
they have going on. So yeah, but you're like, there's some species where you're like, are they locked up? Like chondros, fucking wraps their tails all up and shit. You're lucky if you see like 2 millimeters of hemipene sticking out between the cloaca or whatever. Yeah. If you're ever looking in your enclosure and wondering if your mangrove snakes are locked up, they're not. When they're locked up, you're going to feel some kind of way about it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And is ovulation obvious? When do you?
I've never seen an ovulation.
Okay.
When
do you know the female is done with the male?
I don't. If I catch that lock,
yeah, that's it.
I've caught locks on almost every clutch of mangrove snakes that I've gotten.
Okay.
But you can see behavior. It's sometimes the female's avoidant, but a lot of times I watch what the males are doing. Like if the male stops courting, they're colubrids, dude. In most cases, that male's going to get on it immediately. Yeah. If it's in the evening, like as soon as he wakes up in the evening, or if you do an evening intro, as soon as he knows that she's in there, he's going to let you know whether or not he's interested. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever gotten a clutch where the male was like disinterested upon introduction.
Okay.
Like my big male is a typical male colubrid. He's going to chase him down.
Okay.
So
cool.
And you've seen him. He's a big snake.
He's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I know I've said this plenty of times, and I know I said it when we were holding him in my front yard, but it's just to me, that's as impressive of a snake as there is.
Yeah. They're up there for sure. They're definitely up there. All right. So a couple last questions. Do they go off of food before their pre-lay shed, or when does that cut off, and if so, when?
They do usually pretty close to the shed. And I'm like, there's a point. I try not to mess with them entirely too much because they're big and can be nasty. And some of my girls are a little testy. One of them's real nasty. But if you've palpated follicles on them enough times, there's a point at which you can palpate them and say, "Oh, those are eggs now."
Sure.
You know that they've ovulated, right? Yeah. But the shed is the kind of definitive thing for me.
Right.
And they often will kick out infertile eggs before the fertile ones, and sometimes by days. And I've even had females lay infertile eggs before the shed, during the shed, or just after the shed.
Wow.
Seems to be a normal thing.
Huh.
And and I've had females that laid clutches with infertiles that all came out together and they didn't kick any out. But that just seems to be a thing. I've asked some other people about it. It seems to be a normal thing that you'll get infertiles right around the shed, and then the fertile eggs will be, they lay pretty quick. It's not like 2 weeks or whatever. It's, you're like 4, 5, 6 days after the shed. They'll lay. So.
Wow. So they don't waste any time.
No, when they shed, I stuff them in the egg box, and I'll put a deli of water in there for like a day or two, and then I pull that.
Right.
If a female, in my opinion, if a female snake has an egg laying snake has a full shed for her prelay, hydration is a process. It's not, you're not being hydrated by the water you're drinking right now. Like that hydration in humans is a process that takes like 24 hours, right? It's like to permeate all cell tissues and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So like if your snake, I'm like this with chondros. If that snake had a perfect prelay shed, she's plenty hydrated to lay eggs.
Cool. All right. Last couple of things. So then when it comes to double clutching, do you pair again after the first clutch? And then also, is there anything you're doing specifically to try to entice that second clutch?
Nothing that I've done to try to get it going other than to, I'm maintaining a somewhat higher feeding regimen than I normally would.
Okay.
Just to make sure that they're going to have good fat reserves if they do.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it. And I have done it both ways, pairing and not pairing, but I've never seen another lock.
Okay.
So yeah, and like I mentioned before, I think off the top of my head, all of my clutches that I've gotten were just from one lock, and I with my first divergence reproduction in 2022, that female triple clutched as well, but I only hatched eggs from one of the clutches. The first one had like one fertile egg or something that didn't go the distance.
Okay.
And the third clutch had no fertile eggs. But that was all from one lock. They were never put back together.
So it's essentially just kind of maintaining everything for that female, and if she does it on her own, then wonderful.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And I don't know if there's a way to influence it or not.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a common thing that they can have as many as 4 clutches off of one. And I've had other Boiga breeders tell me that they've definitively gotten 4 clutches from one copulation.
That's amazing.
With fertile eggs.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I want to ask you is about your egg box setup. What are you doing for incubation on them, and then what temperature?
So here's the interesting thing about Boiga eggs. Ask 10 different people how they incubate their mangrove eggs, and you can get 10 different answers, which tells me that there's a pretty good range of ways to hatch the eggs.
Sure.
I had some kind of trial and error stuff, which is why I think I kind of fucked up with my very first clutch with the 1 or 2 that were fertile. I use suspension method,
Okay.
I've seen people do just straight up vermiculite and throw them in a fucking, like, hatch them like corn snake eggs and hatch out just fine. I do suspension method like I do my chondros. But what I've noticed is that even though your hygrometer in there is saying that it's 99% humidity, you can increase the humidity at the level of the eggs with sphagnum moss. And I found that if I don't do that, the eggs dry out. Even though it says it's 99% in there, the eggs will dry out. Mangrove snake eggs have a really cool design. They can tolerate drying and getting too wet, and they get stretch marks and flecks. Super cool. If they get too moist, they can kind of blow out. Like the stretch marks will get too far and then it won't go back in. But I've had some of those crash, and I've had some of those hatch just fine that did that. So the key is to not let them get moist and or stay that way for too long. They can tolerate dripping as long as it dries off. Some eggs, you get chondro eggs, you get a few drops of water on them and it doesn't dry up quickly. That can like kind of permeate the eggshell and it causes a problem. But what I do is I put them in the middle of the egg box. I separate if I can, but they're very hard shelled. And so if they've been sitting for a while, some of them can be very difficult to separate, and I don't try. And I pack very wet sphagnum moss on either side of the eggs. And you can very literally see if it's too close to them, because the eggs will start to like get the little stretch marks in them.
Wow.
But if you take it away entirely, the eggs may look fine. They may not. They may dent up, but you can actually pinch the eggs. They should have just a tough shell, but a little bit of give.
Yeah.
But you can feel when they get hard. If they get hard, they're not going to be able to cut that.
Right.
Even if they go full term, you move that moss a little closer and they soften up again. It's like this thing that I had to play with for a while.
Yeah.
And now I'm just pretty comfortable with like, and I can just go back through and I make sure that there's that I have a small container of water in the incubator that's at the temperature. And that way I can pour that over the, like just a little water bottle, and I can pour that over the sphagnum moss that's on top of the grate to re-wet it if it's drying out a little bit. So they can tolerate, the takeaway from this is they can tolerate these pretty dramatic fluctuations in humidity and moisture, but not for long periods of time. They stay too moist, they'll blow out. They stay too dry, they'll get essentially hard. I know people that straight bake them at 80. I've seen people straight bake them at 84. I've seen people straight bake them at 78. The people in Russia at Tula Zoo told me that they do like I want to say like 83, 84 during the day and like 78 at night or something like that.
Okay.
I tried something similar to that and I didn't like it. What I settled on was 81 during the day and 79 at night. So a little bit of a night drop, but a more narrow. And that seems to be working pretty well.
Well,
they take
exactly what my
forever
incubator does, so that's perfect for me.
That's what you're a colubrid incubator? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like 79, 81, maybe like a half a degree more in each direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been tempted, and maybe I'll do it with Genesinta eggs or melanota eggs, but I've been tempted to just throw them on the shelf next to some of my bull snake and corn snake eggs in the rat closet.
Yeah.
And see how they do in there. My money says they probably hatch. So it gets up into the low and occasionally touches the mid 80s in the rat closet, and then at night it's mid to upper 70s. My money says they fucking hatch in there next to the bull snake eggs and stuff.
Probably.
On my divergens, I've gotten approximately, give or take, 115 days is what it takes to get pips at that temperature. Yeah, dude, it's fucking brutal.
That's monitor times.
Genesinta at the exact same temperature and the exact same setup I've had anywhere from 125 to 133 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff, dude. It's a brutal weight, man.
Yeah, I bet.
It's a brutal weight. It's so brutal of a weight that on 2 occasions, I came in and had babies that had escaped the egg box because I just got tired of checking them every fucking day for 4 fucking months.
Yeah. My gosh.
So, yeah.
Well, I wish us both luck with mangroves this year.
For real. I love them. I wish I could dial them in better. I need to focus more on them because they move very easily, especially divergence. People are lined up to get the divergence all the time. And I'm excited for when yours are ready so we can trade some babies.
Same.
And they're just such incredible snakes, all of them. I love all those 3 types: melanota, ginseng, and divergence. Are just
those are my 3 favorite Boega as well.
Yeah. And so hopefully we'll both have some success. And I know we had talking about scrubs, but maybe that needs to be a discussion when I actually have something happen, because I've been trying for like 3 years to breed scrub pythons with no success.
Maybe for the next Stephen Patrick show, but I know we're right up near the end right now. I've kept you a little longer than we originally planned on, but
yeah. Well, to be fair, I tend to always plan on me talking for longer than I plan on talking. So.
Fair enough. Oh man. Well, dude, thanks again for being here. This was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun hanging at Tinley.
Well, certainly.
Italian food, and it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time for sure, man. I love it. It was good to see you, and look forward to hopefully a Dallas show, and definitely Tinley in October. And also, I'm going to try to make Pomona and or Trap Talk. Or Trap Fest. Yeah. It's going to depend on what my work schedule looks like.
Nice.
MJ already knows this, but I'm bummed out that he's not doing it the same weekend, and I fully understand why, but makes it difficult for me to have to choose one. But it may not be my choice. It may be whatever works out with work.
Sure.
So,
yep. Well, we all definitely hope we can see you at Trap Fest, but either way, we got to make it out to Cali.
I want to go to Trap Fest so bad. If for any other reason, no offense to all the other people that I love there, but Dilek is coming back over from Germany and she's going. And as you know, my house was like her base camp for 2 weeks while she was in Texas. And she's just an incredible human being. I love her to death. And so she really wants me to go too. So I'm going to try to make it happen.
Cool. Hell yeah. Well, where can everybody keep up with what you got going on, Patrick?
You can't, because I'm a fucking superstitious weirdo and I don't talk about anything.
See, once you have
Instagram is my personal one is gtpatrick.tx, and it's mostly snakes. And then my other one is all snakes, and it's arboreal_obsession. Both those on Instagram. I also have an Arboreal Obsession Facebook page that I don't keep up with enough. You can send me a friend request on Facebook, but you'll probably end up in friend request purgatory with literally 1,000 other people. And as far as updates go, I post stuff in my stories after it happens because I'm superstitious.
Yep.
But also, I've been saying this for a while. It's a goal this year that I'm going to finally actually do it. I've already been creating the content, but I'm going to jump on the Patreon thing before it's too long.
Hell yeah.
It's going to, my purpose for Patreon is educational videos, how-to stuff, and it's like, it shouldn't be difficult. All I have to do is point a fucking camera at the things that I'm doing every day,
Yeah.
all the time. But also, one of the benefits to that will be that's where I'll post updates first because people are paying
That's what I do.
Get that information. Yeah.
So, yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for being here. This is definitely.
Yes, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's always a good time, dude.
No doubt. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into the episode tonight. Catch you all back here next week for